Hi, friends. Happy Sunday. I should say y'all. I used to be so consistent about saying y'all, and now I feel like I've fallen off the bandwagon. But hey, y'all, it's Sunday. It's Above the Line, episode 3. Thank you to all of you who are waiting for this, who replied to my Instagram. Anybody that's talked to me about Above the Line. I so appreciate you guys loving and having fun with this series because for me, it's so much fun and it's been just this random source of inspiration for reading more news stories during the week about entertainment and a place to kind of spill all the stuff that I used to talk about in school kind of here. Make sure the back of my earrings are on. Okay. Today's show is episode number 3, even though this is technically the 4th week last week I was busy. I had some things pop up and I sincerely apologize because I had a grand plan for Above the Line that if there was going to be something going on to where I could foresee a Sunday I'm not being able to do a live stream on a Sunday, that I would try to pre-film these. Hold on. The lighting in here looks a little dim, so hold on, let me fix it. But I sorely forgot / did not plan accordingly. That's a little bit better, I think. I did not plan appropriately for last weekend, and so I did not have shorts nor a video version. But going forward, if there's ever a weekend that I foresee not being able to do a live stream, I'm really trying to get in the habit of letting you guys know when the live stream is going to be, scheduling it ahead of time, because right now we're testing out different times so I can figure out what works best for me and my schedule and whatever. I'm really liking 3 right now. We'll see how long this one goes. But basically, going forward, if there is a pre-recorded Above the Line, I will try to release it probably sometime around the time I would normally stream on a Sunday, but it would be a pre-recorded one. And going forward, I'm going to try to clip the segments of this show into shorts because that was my original intention with this. And I kind of fell off the bandwagon with that. But thank you to all of you who are here. Luke, Alex, View with Drew. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Let's hop into our first story of the week, which is a little bit of a prediction, a little bit of a news story. So, Angela Bassett, Queen Ramonda herself, last night, she won the award of the night at the NAACP Image Awards ceremony. She won Entertainer of the Year, and rightfully so. This is the top category at the NAACP Image Awards, and not only did she win this award, but she won 2 other awards last night, of course, both for her, one for her role on 911, which is a TV show, and a second for, of course, her role as Queen Ramonda. And my takeaway here is a little bit of a prediction. So she won this. Tonight she is nominated in the SAG Best Supporting Actress category, and my prediction is that I believe if Angela Bassett is to win, and I think she would be deservedly so tonight, I think there is no question in my mind that she is a lock for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. Now, a lot of people probably are already predicting her to win that, but after the Golden Globes win that she had, as well as this NAACP award and then a SAG award, that's just a really good run-up story, which if you're kind of new to the way that award seasons work, unfortunately, the live television aspect of all of these award shows does, I think, sometimes play in a little bit to you want the people who are giving awards speeches or thank you speeches, winners speeches, to have good things to say, to be people that you want to see, and you want a little bit of not a Cinderella story, but you just want a story behind the winners, I think. And I don't mean to say that Angela Bassett is not deserving, because anyone who has seen that scene when she talks about her entire family being missing or gone from her in Wakanda Forever knows that this woman's talents are so beyond anyone. I don't want to shame anyone else in the Best Supporting Actress category, because there are some great ones. I love Jamie Lee Curtis, Stephanie So, I think is how you say her last name, but a couple of them are fantastic. But I think that Angela Bassett just has this really good momentum right now in terms of award season campaigning, which definitely happens in a lot of these after parties and behind the scenes moments. I just think she is sure to take this category if tonight is another win for her, which I kind of feel like it will be. If I am incorrect, then, it's all just fun and games, right? It's just predictions. But I think she just has the momentum behind her, and right now the support and swelling of love for actresses who are not necessarily like the youngest actresses in the bunch. Like, they're not the hottest up and coming, like they've had established careers like Angela Bassett and Jennifer Coolidge. I think it's such a fun time to see them in these roles where they are absolutely killing it and everyone is recognizing them for that. So I have my fingers crossed for Miss Bassett here to win the SAG Award tonight, as well as the Best Supporting Actress category at the Oscars. But if anyone else has some other predictions, let me know. Let's get into the comments. Also, just for a future segment of this, not for a future segment, in a couple minutes, we're going to be going over I have a story about March. So let me know what your most excited movie or TV show to see in March. So go forward with that. I'm going to pin that little message in the chat. Let's see. Alex says, Angela Bassett is literally a legend. She plays the iconic Tina Turner in the biopic film in the 90s. She is long overdue an Oscar and she may get it. I totally agree. I think Angela Bassett has just been a household name and a staple and such an icon in acting for my entire lifetime. And to finally see her get kudos for a role that is so impassioned and strong and powerful, and like, it's to see her do this. And of course, there's a little part of me too as a Marvel fangirl that's so happy that she is potentially breaking barriers for superhero films in these award seasons. Like, her winning the Golden Globe, I believe, is the first time that a superhero film, other than maybe Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, she's breaking some barriers for Marvel in this sense. And so I am so thrilled for her. Agreed, 1001 clips says Angela Bassett did the thing. She did. I'm so happy for her to see her have the success and recognition, and I really hope it continues. And it's something to where, like, when you have as strong of a performance as she does in Wakanda Forever, that you have this, like, grief but portrayed in this way of this broken woman, and like, some of the scenes of her in Wakanda Forever are truly breathtaking. And so, yeah, I don't want to, like, rule anyone else out, because of course you can never assume what way the Academy is going to swing, but I really do just think there feels like there's a momentum here for her. All right, so Angela Bassett's film final monologue in Notorious, where she played Biggie Smalls' mom, doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's one of my favorite moments of her. Yes, I will say, I feel like 2023, 2021 and 2022 a little bit have been building this, but I love this Renaissance era that we are in terms of bringing actors or actresses who were great but maybe underappreciated at the time for a certain role, bringing them back into the light, or giving them new projects where they are even better suited for, and getting to see them shine. And I'm just so cool. And also, can we talk please about how this woman is getting recognized for doing both television work and like box office giant films? Like, the range of this woman. I'm so impressed with her, and I am so excited to see what happens next as we head further and further into award season, which the SAG Awards are tonight. I think I'm going to assume at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. I'm not sure. I might tune in for a little bit, but it's also The Last of Us. So, we'll see. All right. Next up, we have our box office review, or our box office analysis. And can you guess what won this weekend? I'll give you a hint. I believe it's the same thing that won last weekend. But there's a much more interesting story, and that's what I'm always trying to bring here, is like, sure, it's super interesting to see what movies are making the most money, but to me it's even more interesting to figure out, like, if there's trends or why, or if something is not that far behind something else, what's going on. Alex, you, my friend, are correct. Ant-Man Quantumania. So Ant-Man Quantumania is in its second weekend this week, and it is the tiny but mighty film that last week had a tremendously large opening. It made over $120 million, and that is the largest 3-day opening weekend of any Marvel film. That's like their benchmark, is Ant-Man Quantumania, which is amazing, because if you, again, pay attention to box office numbers and if you pay attention to box office numbers and trends, January and February are usually pretty weak months for box office. Last year, I remember Scream coming out in late January, early February. I can't remember exactly when. That was a huge like success story. It's usually January, February is kind of like you get these horror movies that maybe do money, but Ant-Man Quantumania is completely bucking the trend of any sort of, summer or late spring, fall kind of release date for this big superhero type movie. However, there's an interesting story. So this weekend, that was opening weekend, was over 120 million for Quantumania. So good job, Quantumania, for setting that record. However, it's second week in the box office. So this weekend, February 24th through 26th, which is today, it's still winning the box office at 32 million domestically. However, it is down 69.7% from the first weekend, which is the largest weekend to weekend or second weekend in box office, however you want to say that, drop for Marvel. Black Widow, I believe, had a 67% decrease from opening weekend to the second weekend, but that was even during, 2021. Panini, we're going to call it, because I'm not going to get into that, but we're not going to have the YouTube algorithm start posting stuff on this video, but that's kind of amazing that it did the best for a 3-day weekend, which of course that was President's Day weekend, was the opening weekend for Ant-Man, the 17th through, I guess that would be the 20th. And then this weekend it's dropped so much, but this is specifically because of Cocaine Bear, which I have not gotten to see yet. So I have an Ant-Man review coming for you guys. I'm sorry it took me so long. I've just been so busy last week that this week I'm playing catch up. But Cocaine Bear is stealing a huge percentage of the money away from Ant-Man, and it was at 23 million domestically and I believe 28 million globally for its opening weekend. And what's fascinating is that the majority of Cocaine Bear's audience, from a couple of the box office breakdowns, is it's stealing that male audience away from Ant-Man. And now, of course, with Marvel movies, there's plenty of people who are going to wait till the second weekend to go or rewatch it and potentially. However, what's interesting and what we could potentially theorize about these past 2 weekends in the box office is that any major superhero fanboy goes and sees it opening weekend, opening night potentially, Ant-Man, and then this week goes to see Cocaine Bear rather than rewatching the film. And also there is a lot of talk about poor word of mouth for Ant-Man, and also I think some people potentially feeling like Ant-Man has never been the biggest of heroes, yet this time around he has the next big bad in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is Kang, which, again, wait for my review to hear all my thoughts, but they're generally more positive than pretty much anybody else that I've heard talk about the movie. I really liked it. But I do think it's interesting because I remember Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I don't know historically in terms of box office what that did, but I don't think I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp until right before I went and saw Endgame. So if that gives you any sort of indication, I wonder if this movie might pick up once it hits Disney Plus. Maybe more people are just waiting to see it for then. I don't know. I also think it's surprisingly early in the year, and it is so that, everything's a little bit more spread out now, with Ant-Man coming out in February, Guardians 3 coming out in May, and then the Marvels releasing this November, and the TV shows kind of filling in those gaps. I feel like it's a nice balance of Marvel throughout the year, potentially, but I'm just interested to see. I don't know, I just thought it was specifically, the reason I picked this story, other than doing box offices, it's fascinating to see a film do so well opening weekend in a time period where it's not necessarily supposed to do that great, and then drop so significantly. And then, of course, it's just always interesting. Okay, so yeah, it makes sense. Kind of like how we were talking about last week with Magic Mike winning at the box office, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. That's because that's targeting a specific audience. I wonder, if Ant-Man would have done better had Magic, a movie more tailored to women, shall we say, released this weekend opposite that, rather than Cocaine Bear, which definitely seems like a dude movie. Now to your comments about this week's box office story. Let's see. What did I think of Quantumania? My brief thoughts. King is such a chilling villain. goosebumps when he was on screen. I love Paul Rudd. I love Scott Lang. The humor in this movie is great. I have a couple issues with it that I go more into detail in my review. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a casual one. I'm trying to change up my review format because to be honest with you, sometimes I get bored doing the reviews the way I do them. So you'll get to see more of my thoughts there. But overall, I really liked it. And I feel like it carries its own weight in terms of what it does and what it is for the MCU. Like, it doesn't feel like it feels like a very purposeful sequel. I'll put it that way. It doesn't feel like, oh, they gave Ant-Man a movie because like everybody else had one and like nothing really happened in this movie. It feels much more purposeful, and for me, felt much more like original MCU in terms of like the value added to the MCU. But could just be my opinion. So Alex says we're going to have a very interesting box office record in March since every week we'll have a big movie hit in theaters. Agreed. I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of the layout for spring going into summer, because probably like a decade ago, the first weekend in May was kind of the first time that you would potentially have a major blockbuster release. But now we've backed kind of into April. So like early April can end up being the beginning of like an early MCU release. I remember Captain Marvel was in March, I believe, because Endgame, was it Endgame? Yeah, Endgame came out then that end of April. So like it's not unheard of for some of these movies to be coming out in the time frame that they are. It's kind of cool to see the shift of box office slightly, or a blockbuster season, earlier in the year. Hello Joshua, welcome to the stream. Muhammad, I agree. I really liked Ant-Man Quantumania, and I think people who don't like it are probably people who are not a huge fan of Ant-Man in general, rather than just some comedic relief in a team-up movie. 1001 of Clips says, I wonder what it's going to take for superhero movies to pop off in China again. The Batman didn't do great in China, Black Panther 2 didn't do great in China, and now Ant-Man 3 isn't doing great in China. To be honest with you, I am not enough of an expert on the global box office other than to know that these superhero movies, are usually one of the 25 or 27, I can't remember what the embargo is, movies that do get into Chinese theaters a year. I do think it's interesting when you look at something like Avatar. I wonder if more global audiences are less, there's only certain heroes that they're concerned, or storylines that maybe they like. I don't know. I couldn't honestly give an educated opinion at the moment on that, but it is interesting that those are kind of trending down on a more global scale. And how will that change and shape the movies that we do get in the superhero realm going forward? Definitely interesting to see. And totally agree. Jonathan Majors, I don't think there's something that he can't do, but I think this role is such a strategic move for him in terms of just, not strategic because his career was already pretty great. What I think is interesting is Creed wasn't really in this conversation for box office this weekend, which maybe I shouldn't be surprised that that's the case. I still haven't seen Creed 3. Also, I was not able to attend the screening for that one. But that's another Jonathan Majors movie. So 2 Jonathan Majors movies in the box office at the same time, pretty cool. But he's just a phenomenal actor, a really strong talent, and I can't wait to see for him in more. But I think seeing him as Kang, the way that he absolutely crushed the Kang that was in Loki and absolutely crushed the Kang that was in this movie, I'm so excited to see kind of potentially an onslaught of future variants of him, for sure. Alrighty, moving on. Oops, what have I done? Moving on to our next story, which is what I enlisted all of your help for. It is March Madness. This week, is it Wednesday, is March 1st. And you know what comes back Wednesday. Some of you have said it. Season 3 of The Mandalorian is back on Wednesday. And I, for one, am extremely excited. It's been far too long without Mando. I mean, to be fair, is Book of Boba Fett season 2.5 of Mando? Yes, it is. And if anyone of you, without spoiling anything, has not watched Book of Boba Fett, and is really excited to see this next season of Mandalorian, I would highly recommend you give a little brief watch, skim through Book of Boba Fett till you see stuff you like, watch it, pay attention a little bit, and then, move on. because otherwise you might be a little lost based on the ending of season 2 of Mandalorian, which was like a long time ago now. So you might need that little catch up. But I kind of wanted to run through all the things in March, and some of you guys have recommended or mentioned things that I myself have not put on this list because this list was primarily for television. But first up, of course, Wednesday is the return of season 3 of Mandalorian. Pedro Pascal, which I want to say his name with a proper Spanish accent that he says it with because it's just so beautiful when he says it, but I cannot, alas. Pedro Pascal, he will be dominating 2 nights of the week of television, with The Last of Us, of course, continuing to premiere on Sundays till its finale is on March 12th. And then he will reign supreme on Wednesday nights, as well as Din Djarin returning to Mandalorian. Then this Friday, I am personally the most excited about this one. Daisy Jones and the Six's adaptation, TV show adaptation, is coming to Amazon Prime this Friday. I don't know if it's going to be released weekly or all at once. Part of me kind of hopes it's weekly, but also part of me kind of hopes it's all once so I can just binge it this weekend. But Daisy Jones and the Six is written by my favorite author, Taylor Jenkins Reid. She is a phenomenal writer, and she has this wonderful 4-book, I won't say series, but they're just like a quartet of books that are all sort of set within the same universe. They're very MCU-like, not because they're superheroes, but the interconnectivity between them and kind of the random background characters that pop up. Anyways, I highly recommend that you go read or listen to the audiobook, which I've heard is phenomenal. I'm waiting for it for the library. I really hope that it comes soon because I really want to listen to it again. Of Daisy Jones and the Six, the book, the audiobook, check them out from your local library, get them at Barnes & Noble, download an ebook, whatever. I highly recommend because the format in which this book is written is super interesting. It's written as a transcript of a basically documentary. So think like those old Axis Behind the Band documentaries that you sometimes see on the Axis TV channel. Just think of a music documentary of a band basically telling the story of like how they got together or people who knew the band, and it's written like that. So it's written like a transcript of that, which is a super interesting style. However, the show is supposed to be kind of the actual events while also including the documentary, and what's super cool about that is since you kind of get a sense that not all of the characters understand the objective truth of the story. Like, you're not getting it from this omniscient narrator. There is an element of an unreliable narrator that I'm so excited to see how they explore in the show. The show stars Sam Claflin, of course, of Me Before You and The Hunger Games fame. You know him, you love him, and he's going to be phenomenal in the show. I'm already convinced. And then Riley Keough, who is Elvis's granddaughter, believe it or not. And the late, great Lisa Marie Presley's daughter. Or no, that would make her Elvis's granddaughter. I don't know why that tripped me up so much. Riley Keough, I'm just so excited to see her in this role. She can sing, she can act, and she looks exactly like what I pictured Daisy Jones to look like in the book. So anyways, that's a huge reading recommendation, which, speaking of reading, some of you are in my little book club. If you're not, go check out some of my community posts. We're going to probably do a live stream sometime this upcoming week to chat about Tomorrow and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So if you don't have time to read the book or don't feel like reading the book, check out Scott Pilgrim versus the World or another video game movie. So just kind of throwing that out since we've talked about books. Continuing into March. So that's March 3rd. That's this Friday. And then You Season 4 Part 2 is coming back March 9th. I am behind, but I hope to catch up by the time that comes around, or else my fiance will be so upset that he has to watch it by himself, or because he will not wait for me. He will not. So I'm excited to see what Joe Goldberg is up to, you know. I'm interested to see, because how long can you continue? Because, you know, serial killers do have this one issue, which is getting caught. And I feel like Joe Goldberg, you know, I'm not to the end of season 3, so no spoilers, but he's definitely almost been caught way too many times for him to keep getting away with this for like 10 seasons, you know? Then, of course, Oscar Sunday is Sunday, March 12th. That's also the finale of The Last of Us. Are they going to release it slightly early? I don't know. I have a feeling they might do something similar to what they did before with the Super Bowl. The problem is the Oscars doesn't bring in as many people, so I just don't know if, like, they're going to want to air, like, the Oscars is the biggest. Like, I could see them competing with, like, SAG Awards, right? No problem tonight. But I feel like maybe with the Oscars it'll be different, but I don't know. I don't know. Okay, and then March 15th, this I was so excited for. I still haven't actually watched the trailer for this, so I need to go check that out after this live stream, is Ted Lasso's third and final season. I don't want to be like, I watched it before it was cool. I am pre-bandwagon. No, because Ted Lasso is a wonderful show and it deserves all the accolades, success, and praise that it has gotten. If you have not watched it, Ted Lasso, the first season, follows an American football coach who is hired by a British soccer club, which is called football over there, and that leads for some kind of hilarious confusion between the two sports and their rules. But it follows Jason Sudeikis as the literal most lovable character you've ever seen. The first season is pure serotonin, pure joy. If you want to get in that spring mindset, like that sunshiny day, happy feeling, Ted Lasso season 1 is what you're gonna want to watch. Then Ted Lasso season 2 continues to bring that, like, happiness to you while dealing with some different subjects and kind of, like, explores potentially toxic positivity and how it's not always great to be happy all the time. That's, it's not normal, basically. And now this third season is gonna kind of follow the club, Ted, Coach Baird, kind of everyone you've learned to love over the last 2 seasons. And I am supremely excited for this final season. That will be releasing weekly, as have the other seasons, and that's on Apple TV Plus if you want to catch up. And then, of course, last, Succession. Succession's fourth and final season, which was announced recently too, will begin on March 26th. I still have not watched any of Succession, but I would like to be on board with the hype. So if we could all spam the chat with Christian, tell Sasha y'all should watch Succession, that would be greatly appreciated, because, one thing about being in a relationship that's great, but also stinks sometimes, is that you want to watch TV shows together, but some people want to watch TV shows at different times as other people. And I'm waiting for an impending text from Christian right now. But yes, the only note that I have to bring kind of to this story, rather than just announcements of all the stuff going on in March, and I will get to all your suggestions in the chat in a second, is streaming changing the traditional model of television? Now, I'm not saying this covers multiple different streaming services in 1 month alone, and I'm not trying to say that, like, January or February or any month of the year could be big for a specific streaming services or across the board streaming. But March seems to be pretty strong, but March would traditionally be pretty late in a winter television season, so how television usually typically works is a fall season and then a winter premiere / spring season. So starting sometime in September, going to late November or early December, and then beginning again kind of after the Super Bowl. That's kind of when a lot of shows will return, almost, if you will, unless you're The Bachelor, and then you can either be beginning of January or the end of January. Kind of just is up to whatever those crazy Bachelor producers want to do. But what I think is interesting is, like, these are some of the biggest shows on television, and they're all beginning kind of midway through that winter season. And I think it's interesting because, I guess, with streaming shows, a lot of these are more limited series. They're more, like, they're smaller in scale, so they're not 22 episodes, and so obviously they don't need to start at January 1st or whenever television returns after Christmas break. But what I think is interesting is, like, could we get to a point where, like, most shows start around March? I think another interesting note is that usually the week of July 4th has kind of become a popular time for Netflix, specifically with Stranger Things. Memorial Day and July 4th can kind of allow Netflix some bonus weekends where there's time for people to binge. And so I think that is kind of the interesting concept, is, like, as we get into spring, the days feel longer and people feel like they have more time. Is that going to become a time when we see more bingeable shows? Because, quite frankly, people are around to watch them. I don't know. Let's get to your thoughts on this, but that's, just always trying to add a little value to these stories rather than just regurgitating them for you, which I do have all my links today. I will put them in the chat, and I will also be changing the thumbnail. I apologize severely that the thumbnail is as ugly as it is this week. I made it last minute yesterday just so I could schedule this, but going forward, I'm going to try to be better about that. Okay, so let's see. So Alex says Mandalorian season premieres T-minus 3 days, which is so exciting. Totally agree. Joshua is excited for 65, which is starring Adam Driver. I am also very excited for that. Scream 6, I will also am looking forward to seeing that. And Inside, which stars Willem Dafoe, which I've not heard much about. So I'm interested to see what that is about. Look into that. And did I miss anybody else's? Alex is very excited also for Scream 6 and John Wick Chapter 4. So it seems like, again, like I said, we're kind of getting into that territory of blockbusters kind of being... March, April is kind of the point where those usually return. 1001 of Clips is excited for Creed 3. Definitely going to watch it in IMAX. Did Creed 3 come out this weekend, or am I dumb? I thought it was out, but maybe I'm not right. No, not Creed 2. I want Creed 3. Hold on. Did I think... Oh, Creed 3 releases this Friday, everyone. I apologize in my last segment for saying that two Jonathan Majors movies were up against each other, because that was incorrect. It does not come out until this Friday. So that's something for you all to look forward to. Like 1001 of Clips is. And also going to go see it in IMAX. There was an interesting article. I didn't really read it that much. I wasn't too interested, to be quite honest. But it was talking about how IMAX is kind of losing money, because obviously only certain theaters can have IMAX technology, which costs a certain amount of money. And then I think those movies get delivered differently, because obviously to have that aspect ratio difference, I think they are on a different format. I don't know all the details, but supposedly IMAX is not necessarily returning on all its investments. Let's see. I think Jonathan Majors or Pedro Pascal will be people's sexiest man alive for this year. Certainly time will tell. It'd be very interesting to see. I still am standing by Pedro Pascal. I just have a feeling in my gut that that's going to be the case. But Jonathan Majors could make a good case. I'm wondering if he's got some more time, though, because he's got a couple more appearances in some things that might bring him into public attention maybe like next year. Could be an early prediction. Oh, it's telling that Quantumania has the same cinema score as Eternals. Quantumania, and quite honestly, in my opinion, could crush Eternals with its ant-sized boot. That's how much better it is than Eternals. I am not here for... I would disagree with cinema score. That's how I feel about it. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Alex, with the stats for Mandalorian, it's officially going to be 8 episodes, which if they release them all weekly and don't double up on anything, I guess that would bring us through April, which is very exciting. Alex is also excited for Daisy Jones and the Six. The first episode will have an early preview night this Wednesday in selected areas. I need to find out if I'm in one of them, because I will drop whatever it is I need to do this Wednesday to go do that. I can't express to you guys enough how much I love Daisy Jones and the Six, the book. Like, phenomenal read. Any of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books are great. In fact, my favorite of hers might be Carrie Soto Is Back, but Daisy Jones is probably a close second, to be honest. I just love them so much. Daisy Jones and the Six will release its first 3 episodes this Friday. I think that's super cool. Like, I am kind of here, to be honest, for series that, like, are on a weekly schedule, but allow you to binge it at the same time. Like, or it could just be for this opening week, and then we're going to continue. I'm so excited for this, because it's the first of Taylor Jenkins Reid's adaptations. Later this year, I believe in June, there's going to be One True Loves, which is a fantastic book of hers that stars Simu Liu, who we'll actually be talking about in our last story today. But it stars Philippa Sue from Hamilton and Simu Liu. Anyways, I could go on and on and on about Taylor Jenkins Reid, and maybe that just means that I need to make a video about her books and the adaptations of her books, because I'm here for them. John Lee, can't wait for the SAG Awards tonight. John, who are you hoping to win? Let me know. Alex, 100% correct. Daisy Jones and the Six is supposed to follow a mockumentary format, and the band Daisy Jones and the Six in the book is supposed to be loosely based on kind of all the different relationships that are behind like a Fleetwood Mac type band. Like that's what Daisy Jones and the Six is. It's very, I guess, heavily inspired, but loosely similar to Fleetwood Mac. So if you're a fan of Fleetwood Mac music, okay, let me just go on a little bit of a Daisy Jones and the rant. Daisy Jones and the Six tangent for a second, okay? All the Taylor Jenkins Reid and her genius, she wrote songs that she references in the books. Like when they talk about their hits, you can actually read the lyrics of the song. But they actually recorded them for the show, which I guess you'd have to. Like it'd be pretty hard to skip around the music element of the show. But there's 2 singles that are out now. Honeycomb and what was the other one? Look at Us Now and Regret Me. Look at Us Now, it's Honeycomb, and then Regret Me. I am so excited to just hear all the songs, to watch the show, see them pop up in the show. It's going to be so good. I am going to pre-order the vinyl, and I will be playing it in my house like it's a real band. Okay. Talking about how long Joe Goldberg can get away with his serial killer ways. 1001 of Clips says, Dexter went a long time. I see no reason why you can't. I guess it's just like, I guess he moves around enough. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I guess I could suspend my disbelief that he escapes it for so long because it is such an entertaining show. But yeah. Alex last summer watched the first 2 seasons of Ted Lasso and loved it. I got the Ted Lasso pop somewhere in my room. I just love Ted Lasso so much, and I'm so excited for this 3rd season. John corrected me about Creed 3 coming out March 3rd, this Friday. And then John Wick 4 is the thing that John is most excited for, as well as Dungeons & Dragons, which he says looks decent. I'm also excited for those movies. I think March will be a little bit more of a casual movie-going month for me in terms of theaters. But I'm I keep feeling like I need to revisit the 100 movies I've missed. Not challenge, but like I need to watch more classic movies or movies that are recommended to me by people for a specific reason, rather than just keeping up with the new releases. But I am interested to kind of see some of these films. Alex says he thinks they do TV shows early in the year because during the summertime people are hanging out with families and going on vacation. So yeah, winter and fall is a good go with TV. I agree. I think the interesting thing is just you can release something. It's just, I think streaming is just so unprecedented in terms of when you can do it. But yeah, I mean, traditionally summer is when TV shows are kind of written or filmed. Written or filmed. Mainly, well, is that accurate? Kind of spring and summer is when they're filmed and that sort of thing. I guess they're written more in the winter. I don't know. I used to know like the TV show kind of production schedule, but okay. I am going to save all the rest of your chats because some of them are for our last story. So let's move on. So March is going to be a jam-packed month. That is for certain. Oops, I did not mean to do that. For certain. But our last story of today is Steven Yeun joining the MCU, which, John, you just mentioned like 2 seconds before I said it, so you stole my thunder. But Thunder who? So Steven Yeun has been announced to join the cast of the Thunderbolts in a quote-unquote key role. So we know he's going to be important, and we know he's going to show up in that film. There's kind of a wide range of things he could be. Could he be another member of the Thunderbolts team? Could he be a CIA agent? Could he be working with Valentina Contessa Allegra? Could he be working for the president, who will be played by Harrison Ford, who will be Thunderbolt Ross? Who's he going to be? I don't know, but he's in a key role. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Now, just because that's literally the only news from that story, other than, Steven Yeun from hits like Minari, The Walking Dead, Invincible. The guy is so talented. I love him so much as Glenn in The Walking Dead, and he is fantastic in Invincible as a voice actor, and so it's going to be really fun to see him joining this cast, because this movie honestly is getting just really stacked. It's getting really stacked, and it's like, it feels like it's going to be a absolute fan favorite, and I'm so excited to see that. However, I have a little theorizing, okay? And this is based on absolutely nothing factual, absolutely nothing concrete, but Simu Liu also came out this week, like around the time that this story also came out, and said that he could be appearing in a Marvel movie sooner than you would expect. So, allegedly, from Simu Liu, he's saying that, there's obviously the sequel to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Part of me thinks the most logical answer of this is that he shows up in the Ten Rings TV show that's supposed to be based around his sister, right? That's the most logical one. But if we want to get a little crazy with it, here's what we can say. So I don't think that I see Shang-Chi showing up in Secret Invasion, The Marvels, or quite honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy. So no, I don't see him popping into that. I could see him in some way, in something that slightly has a magical element. Like, for example, if somebody was going to the other logical thing could be that he shows up in What If, because that's also supposed to be this spring, unless the timeline has gotten, kind of the time frame of that release has gotten shifted. But Simu, I think, could potentially be in Thunderbolts with the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. thing going on. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. started with Nick Fury trying to find super powered individuals, or, amazing individuals with all these powers, and kind of bringing them together for the Avengers Initiative. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have to find Shang-Chi at some point, to kind of bring him into the fold of the kind of the superhero society. So I'm wondering, could it happen in the Thunderbolts? Potentially. But the two more logical would be What If, or the Ten Rings TV show that's supposed to come out. Or potentially, if there's something that Wong is in, I could see somehow the portals, just because Wong, actually, you know what, maybe he could show up in the Marvels because of the Shang-Chi post-credit scene. I don't know, quite honestly. But now I need to go back and, figure out, I've been thinking of doing, you know what, I'm going to keep that to myself, because every time I talk about stuff, you guys know how I am. If I talk about it on a live stream, I never actually end up doing the video. So I'm just going to write it down, and maybe eventually it will come to fruition. But any guesses on who you think Steven Yeun could potentially be, I am here for. I have no clue, quite honestly. No idea. No, I couldn't even begin to guess to tell you. But maybe you guys feel differently. I'm just excited because he's such a talented actor, and I love seeing talented actors kind of get to return to us multiple times in a franchise like Marvel. So that's that. So John mentioned that Alex said the Thunderbolts is going to have a huge cast ensemble. There was a rumor that the villain of Ant-Man and the Wasp villain Ghost being written out of the film. A rumor Steven Yeun could play Serenity. No clue who Serenity is, and I did not hear that about Ghost. I'd kind of be surprised after the D23, the art that they have. I'd be very surprised. I also think that might have been kind of a little bit of a plot hole in the Ant-Man in Quantumania. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But, I'd be kind of disappointed because I think bringing back a character like Ghost would add so much value to Ant-Man and the Wasp, to kind of explore that character further. But, John says Sentry, Amadeus Cho, another Hulk. Could be. I don't know. But I'm excited about it. Guys, that's all I've got for my slideshow here. However, yes, Sentry, not Serenity. Sentry. But let me go through y'all's comments, answer some of your questions and your other stories, and then we'll wrap this one. I'm sorry this one's a little shorter, but some of the stories that I was reading this week, they just didn't, I could tell you that Hugh Jackman is claiming that he's suffered He has less of a vocal range. His vocal range has been damaged by his Wolverine voice. But, like, do you care that much? Probably not. I could tell you that Eric Stone Street from Modern Family is going to be an evil Santa in the next season of The Santa Clauses on Disney+, which I didn't know was getting a second season, but apparently it is. So there's things like that, but, like, is that really much of a story? I don't know. I didn't personally care for those stories. Like, I just don't care enough about them, so I wasn't going to regurgitate them. So let's go through y'all's stuff. Alex is seeing Creed 3 this Wednesday. Unfortunately, I got tickets for Tuesday, but getting into NYC during the week is hard. That does stink. What is my most anticipated film for the rest of 2023? That's a great question. To be honest, actually, it's not that difficult. It's Barbie. 150,000% Barbie I'm the most excited for. I love Ryan Gosling, I love Margot Robbie, and I love Simu Liu. And crazy thing, all three of them are going to be in that movie, which is directed by Greta Gerwig, who I love and adore, and who writes scripts that I love. And I think it's just going to I think that movie is going to blow people away. That movie will be disappointing to me if it's not great, which sucks, but to admit, because I don't usually like to build that kind of expectation up for a movie, but that's the truth. But that's my most anticipated film for the rest of 2023. Alex asked, have I heard about the major shift with DC this week and last week with Aquaman 2 having poor test screening, people walking out, and Variety reported The Flash will be shown 2 months early in CinemaCon. I think I read something about The Flash. I'm just ready for that movie to be out. When it's out, I'll see it. I'm really excited for Michael Keaton's Batman, but I could care kind of less about the rest of it. I liked the Flash TV show while I watched it, so I am interested to see the incorporation of that Barry with the DCU Barry. But Aquaman 2, I'm not a fan of Aquaman 1. So I like Jason Momoa, but I don't care too much for, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to movies, there's just some that you just can't you just don't get excited about. And Aquaman 2 is definitely that for me. I don't know when it's releasing, and to be honest, I'm probably going to have to go see it, but I don't know that I want to. And by have to, I mean my lovely fiance is going to want to see it, and I'll go with him. But, that's the dealio on that. John is on the Everything Everywhere All at Once train for award season. John is hoping that they win big. They won Producers Guild Award yesterday, Directors Guild Award last week, so they're probably favored to win the Oscars at this point. I would be very surprised if that wasn't like the front-runner Oscar movie. Banshees of Inisherin, I think, could give it a little bit of a run for its money, but also historically, like, the Golden Globes is a little bit more into movies like that versus that. I do feel like The Fabelmans is going to fall out of the conversation. The Golden Globes just kind of shook up my predictions for what the Oscars was going to look like. But I don't know that the Golden Globes is the most reliable source for what's going to happen to the Oscars anymore. The way it used to kind of be like Oscars Junior, be like the same winners. Just like some things were put in different categories, so they weren't necessarily directly competing. But I think it's a little bit different now. And then John, yes, Succession's 4th season will be its last season. It makes me really want to catch up so I can watch the 4th season live and then just kind of end with the show. Yeah. I don't really watch it yet either, John, but I definitely would like to. And with that, guys, I am going to let you go for this Sunday. We'll just have a quick little above the line. Thank you to all who joined me. I'm going to properly title and thumbnail this video and give it a good description. If you want to check out any of the stories that we've talked about today, they will be in the description within the next 30 minutes because I'm just going to go do it now. Next Sunday, we will, of course, be back with Above the Line this week in terms of content. I'm going to have an Ant-Man Quantumania review for you, finally. I apologize that it is so delayed, but it's coming. As well as sometime at the end of this week/weekend, I will be having a live stream to discuss my Cinephiles Reading Book Club. We had our kind of first kickoff month, but I'm going to try to make it a bigger deal next month. Oh my god, I completely forgot about Shadow and Bone season 2 in March. That I'm like so excited about. Anyways, we will be kind of having a little bit of a vote soon. So be on the lookout this week for some polls about when's the best time to do a live stream and what book/movie we're going to read or watch for next month, for March. That's kind of what to look forward to this week. And then, of course, Above the Line will be next Sunday at an undisclosed time. I might just schedule it today right now while I'm thinking about it, and then I'll update you as we get closer. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had a wonderful time learning about the little too long didn't read version of Hollywood entertainment news this week, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your Sunday and a great start to your week and March. Love you all the most. Have a great week. See you soon.